Hello, my name is Dr. George Mochocki, and welcome to Retail Merchandising, Chapter 8, Merchandising Resources or Channel Intermediaries. Part of the supply chain. We talked a little bit of a couple chapters back, and there's just a little bit more fine tuning it, looking at your manufacturing representatives, looking at your own direct sales force, or who's going to be selling your products within the distribution chain. Are you a manufacturer? Are you a producer? Or how do you interact and how do you bring your sales people to sell your product for your brand for your a retail merchandising store? Or do you utilize the manufacturers or you contract out? How do you find information of what's going is the current trends in the future? That's where you have a resident buying office. They're located, certain times of the months. They're out there for resources, for information, and how do retailers at the end add value. Remember the chain. As a producer, you create it with the idea, or you're going directly to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer, now they're working business to business, so it's manufactured to the end of the retail chain, which would be the retailer, and the retailer sells to the ultimate consumer. So the manufacturers, business to business, they have to understand the retailer's customer base that he or she's operating out of, so they could assist them, and by assisting them, they will utilize their product. Okay, so again, you're taking me online, and this is your only lecture you're going to see, plus the forum activity that's required. Remember, 3 times a week, you have to communicate with other students. I'm looking for about 10 or 12 posts within a week, and that's very manageable. This way, but not just hey, it's a great idea. I'm looking for content utilizing some of this information. Remember, you'll be working on your own retail merchandising store or department or a display or something that's going to be part of your final project as a team that you're going to be presenting to the rest of the class. Okay, so and remember, and part of that is that you utilize some of the key concepts, at least 35. Now I'm going to try to keep this under an hour, maybe a little less. I've been doing pretty good, being around 54 minutes. It's under an hour. All right, so let's look at this. Now remember, a majority of my students are either in retail merchandising or coming back for professional growth classes if you are in the industry, or you're in the fashion program here at I think it's at Harper College, and now you know the idea. You're very creative. You know how you come up with new ideas. You know different merchandising, different fabrics, different colors, how to make everything else. Now, how do I take this passion or love that I want, and that's where you come into taking this class, and this whole different chapters in retail merchandising is now how do I sell my product? How do I put it into the distribution chain? How do I start making money? Get those unique lines, maybe, or maybe mass marketing, everything we were talking about. But I have to start someplace, and this is what you're going to learn. Okay, so retailers are part of the distribution channel, and I've got to let me go on here. I got a pic that's real easy to understand. I like pictures. I'm a picture type of person. Remember, you have my concept maps. You read the material. You're not going to get this for the first time. The book is a good resources. I'm just covering over what you've read in the book. And after you read it, while you're reading, use my concept maps or mind maps and add on to it. And then look at this recording and look at each one. I go into more detail. Oh, I forgot about this, or put into your own words. Remember, this is how I view it, how I see it, but you'll remember different. We're all unique, we're all different, we're all creative, so maybe a picture makes more than just one word, and you understand that, I use stories, I tell these crazy stories, so you already had me in other classes, but that's how you'll remember. Oh, I never thought about that. Okay, so let's look at the big a pick of the chain. So this is basically the logistics channel. Manufacturing, somebody makes it. Remember, you're still a producer. You got to tell them by your specification how I make the product or where you're going to make it at. All right. So they're gonna you're gonna work that, and it goes to a wholesaler. Wholesaler buys it. Every part of this logistic chain or the marketing channel that we've talked about earlier, there's a cost, time, the time, value, place, something that you're changing a product. There's always a cost added to it. Okay, without the taxes. And then it goes to the retailer, that's your place, and then you go to consumer. Consumer wants it some kind of modified, so you could buy it like different sizes, or you could talk to the wholesaler. I want different styles, works well for this area, but not for that area. And he or she could break it down. That's what you find out is that the wholesaler will break it down to smaller packages. The retailer will still be able to distribute it to individuals, consumers. Okay, so that's the pick on the supply chain. A set of forms. This is the definitions. If you see it on the exam or a question, a set of firms, as companies, industry, businesses that make and deliver a given set of goods and services to the ultimate consumer. Okay, so that's part of the supply chain. From the manufacturer, producer gets the idea, manufacturer to the warehouse that keeps it, or distribution center, and then basically to the retailer, and then it goes to the consumer. Okay, so we've talked about this, the wholesaler, consumer. That's the chain on there. The next topic we're going to talk about is what is manufacturing or manufacture. Okay, so let's get a little different. Manufacture, you got the idea, you're making something. You're in the fashion as a retail merchandise, you're selling something, you have to make something. You're in the service, you're doing something. But right now we're just looking at merchandising. The same concepts could be utilized from services. You just have to look at the ultimate, what need is supplying to the consumer, the ultimate person who's buying your product. Uses labor and machinery to convert raw materials into finished products. May make goods themselves. You can make them yourself. Somebody else had one lady that was finding pine cones and coming up with some kind of an Indian theme and selling them online and doing very profitable. Her boyfriend would pick up all the pine cones. She'd utilize them, but she'd put her creativity, paint them, or do something else that worked out well. Or assemble the goods, right? Just manufacturing. I buy them. You look at your TVs or some electronics, computers are bought from all over. We assemble here, so we can say made in USA, but we buy from all over the world. We're a flat economy. Okay, remember, a lot of the terms I'm utilizing now may be a little different than the business, than the fashion merchandising, the clothing line and everything else. I'll throw some of those in, but you have to understand the business side. Just like I have to understand the creative side. I know I'm not the creative person, but I can see creativity. I could see a good product. I could say that will sell for this customer. Even though I may not look like that customer, I just understand customer, you understand individual. And that's what a buyer does, and that's what a retail merchandiser, that's what a store owner, the department head, or someone that's trying to promote the brand over another brand. You have to understand how to use the store. Remember, talking, you're part of the retail chain. What brand, what functionality, what services do you provide to the customer? Otherwise, why not go strictly to the manufacturer? Because the manufacturer doesn't like to do with they're good at manufacturing, they want to deal with the business. But some of them are made. Depending if it's a horizontal type of an operation that we will talk about in business, they may say, hey, we manufacture and we also sell directly to the ultimate consumer. We just eliminate the retailer. All right, to manufacture. Now, contrary now to other tasks. Remember, the small business, what do I do or what do I outsource? And manufacturing represents, two different things. You have manufacturing represent, I'm a small business, and I don't have my own sales force. So they may come out to me, and if I'm doing to other business or consumer, they'll help me. So they're selling it for me. If I look at the insurance agent, okay, there's some ones that work for State Farm, some work with Allstate, Country Mutual, USSA, the military one that I belong to. But all of those they have their own representatives. They could come and help me. Okay, so I've got all those other services. I may be an independent agent, and I'm working for all of them. Because it may not make sense to be in an area to have an office there because there's not enough people to sustain that office. So they just contract me out for that area. Okay? So it's employed. Its own direct sales force is the best because then you could always control the message. When your manufacturer is small or doesn't want its own sales force, then they could use a manufacturer's rep, and they'll do the selling for me. Pick up a rep, and it could be anything. Furniture sales agent, just selling the furniture to your customers. Remember, you can't control the message. They're independent. And sometimes they work with the manufacturer, so they're not selling competing products for you. Okay? So I developed a sales story. This is the area that I'm going to be working in. Establish retail accounts more efficiently than the direct salesperson. I'm a manufacturer. How do I go out there? I'm opening up a small business. Right now I'm going to reach out. Let me get back. Rewind. We're the manufacturers in the retail chain dealing with retailers. How do we help retailers out? So it's business to business. Okay. Compatibility of reps lines is often, let's see, a basis for synergistic sales. If I'm looking at when, as a salesperson or an account manager, if you believe in the product, because it's a good product, you could sell any product in the world. If you have a product that's inferior, or you know that there's something wrong with the product, you put that fake face on, you put on that, you can sell it once, but remember, you could pull an eye over mass marketing because there's a lot of different people, different targets. When you're dealing with retailers, when you're dealing with store owners, a small niche, they talk to each other, business to business. You take advantage of one. It's out there. Your business is out. We will not buy from you. We will not touch your product, or we'll do a third party. They'll take the risk on that we feel comfortable with. So remember, from a manufacturer's rep, if you want to control the message, usually when the good marketing, the rule of thumb, any kind of distribution from manufacturer. I understand you're small, you can't afford it, so you're using manufacturer rep or you're using an independent salesperson. But the rule of thumb, if I have to deal with customers and that is the source of my income, that part of the business I never outsource. That's just my rule of thumb. The author has a different perspective, and at the college level, here it's a community college, we're giving you a baseline you could utilize all. But think of it, the minute you have a chance to bring in your own sales, you can control the message, you can control their more loyalty. A rep's only looking at percentage. Once I sell a product, I don't get any more money. I don't get paid for maintaining that customer base. I'm looking for the next sale. What you want is somebody, especially in business to business, that you build that relationship. The sales, we've talked a couple of chapters back. The whole thing is building relationship when you're doing it from manufacturers to retailer. Smaller niche, you know those customers, you know those retailers, you know those store owners, you know their customer base is better than they know it. And that's why they'll come and utilize your product over your competitors. Okay? So you're looking at a rep is paid only what he sells with no additional employment expenses. So he's not one of my employees, belongs to the manufacturer. Someone's paying him, trust me. And so where's the loyalty? It's not to my store, it's to the manufacturer. Advantages of using the sales reps. Already has customers in the territory because they're manufacturer, but they may be selling other products similar or something else. Remember, they're not your individuals. They're getting paid by how many units you sell and what kind of return investments they get for every unit you sell. A direct sales force would need to develop a territory account. You could start off, sometimes the reps aren't happy with the manufacturers. They want to, because they're traveling all over a region. Now they want to be in a smaller locale. And they may already retired and they say, hey, we'll work on you, even if they don't have a certain clause. Since the rep is not an employee, payments limited to commission and the goods. Remember that, got the square. So you may see that in the exam. Do not have to pay benefits or travel. Again, you got the square, you can see it. Does not own the goods. He's like an agent or she's an agent. I'm just selling the goods or things. I never take possession of the goods. Independent sales agent, that's another one you could use as a sales contract would represent the manufacturer's line along with non-competing lines. So they're selling other stuff when they're in there. A lot of times I'll work at the college and I do like a cooperative. So if I come in there, I try not to give them the business card of the college, nothing personal, because I'm representing that college. When I used to work for Combat and I would deal with different manufacturers that could be competitors. What happens here stays here and not over there. It's not my thing because you lose the trust. Mine is to sell my product to them, even though I understand the different operations. And it is a competitive business. Okay? Okay, so we have that. So we manufacture. Let's look at the direct sales force. Employ the direct sales force. My own individuals, they either come from manufacturing, they come from engineering, or I hire them out. They understand the product lines, right? my own sales force. Our study concludes that this is a percentage of our customers who will buy from us without any effort whatsoever on our part. You have to stimulate. Some may just hit you by error, but you have to have your sales force, especially when dealing with retailers. They're busy, and you come to them, and once you get that relationship, you understand them, and they see you as a value, they will buy from you. Okay, permanent regular employees for the manufacturer can issue credit or return. Remember, to our sales force, when I'm working for the manufacturer, if there's a problem, manufacturer agent, I can repair it. I can give you your money back. I authorize all that because I'm an agent for the manufacturer. That's my sales force. I can control that. Okay, now wholesalers, distributors. Let's talk a little bit. There's certain services that they do that add value for you as a retailer to utilize a certain wholesaler or distributor. Okay, merchant wholesaler. They take possession. They basically buy it from the manufacturer, and now they're selling it and transferring the goods to me. Of goods they sell to the retailers. Remember, that's the difference. Manufacturer reps do not take ownership. Just a reminder. They are not direct manufacturer reps. Remember, they're just in between independents working on their own. Now, a rack jobber, what he or she does is responsible for display. If you go sometimes to like Jewel or even Walmart, some of the stores you go in there, and there are people running around there, especially the pop. You see a bit of pop, you already know it's not their employees. You have the Coca-Cola or Pepsi, whoever's bringing the soda in, or even once in a while their own off-brand or private label. Somebody bringing that in, the bottling company. So they're bringing that in, and but other times, you have people that put up the cereal up, and I look at them and say, "Hey, can I help?" I don't work here. At least you know where the stuff is. You show me where it's at. You're a little bit more polite. You're still representing the brand. All right, so tortillas, Jay's potato chips, they'll come in, and as the point of purchase, when it checks out because of the barcode, it will tell that vendor or supplier, because of the relationship with the computers, how many of those potatoes are sold. So when that truck comes in, they would have a good idea. We need 20 more bags, so we sold 20 last night, and this is our safety stock. Okay? So he or she does that, and now what happens, I don't have to have my own stock. I don't have to keep the stock. It's just like just-in-time inventory, and it's a value added for me. But remember, this way they know the shelves are always full, no crushed box, the bag ones we throw out, we always got the news updated expiration dates and everything on there. Okay, now store buyers prefer these wholesalers, right? Now, store, I like that because they do a lot of the work. When they need goods quickly, because they're always there every day in the morning, so that I don't have to worry about having somebody out there to make sure my shelves are empty, and in small quantities. Found in many channels. So wholesale distributor, they added different value to it, to the logistic or the marketing channel, other than just warehousing or bringing the goods on time. We'll talk a little bit about imports, because imports, when you look at it, remember when I talked about, and when you take me for business and everything else, there's money there that our government has in grants to help businesses export. Import, I know it reduces your cost. We import a lot. So let's be selective on our imports, and you got to be careful, because remember, you're bringing imports, and I'm just looking at a certain type of dog food or something that may be contaminated or something, let's say in China or India. That import, it comes in here, or even not peanut butter, the peanuts or something else you're importing. So it reduces the cost, but you have to make sure that the quality and the safety standards are still met. And then you have the labor, you have the what do you call it? There's laws out there that you can't, the Corruption Act, that you can't bribe or anything else out there. So we'll talk in general of import. Imports are also good because you may get your material at lower cost. You're a small business. Look, smaller business, you got to compete. You can't compete at economies of scale because you don't buy that large of quantities, even if you're in a cooperative. So how do I do it? You have to utilize imports. There's no way around it. You have to go overseas, Mexico, China, wherever you're going to get it. We're doing a relationship with Cuba. Maybe we could get something there from Cuba or something else. It's a shorter distance. We get a better deal to get my product out, to get it made, or even there to make it and bring it in. We're in a global society. Large companies do it because of they buy a large quantity. I'm a smaller one. And look, a lot of times if you look at China, they may not trust the larger government companies, but they do work a lot better with smaller businesses because all their operations are small businesses anyway. That's what they trust more, the helping the collective, for lack of better words, than the smaller one. So you may have a better deal. The large company may come in, but you're not going to really hurt their economy to one or two, but it makes those new connections, and they have a better supply chain by smaller supply chain, just like they have smaller manufacturers coming in and working out. Remember, strategy. You have to look at it. Okay, so offers goods, wider selection, right? Like it or not, imports to like. I don't have to make it all. I come all from Italy. I get from all different tiles. I get just a lot of information you can get. Other goods are unique and highly priced. Labor-intense goods are less expensive. Okay, many goods come from less industrial countries. Even though you would say, well, look, they're only making a few dollars an hour. For them, that their economy and the cost of living and quality of life, they're already higher than what they were before. Eventually, as they produce more, and the education and the countries are developed, their standard of living is going to go up, the price is going to go up. That's why, look, we started Mexico, went to China, we're going to India. Next thing, we'll probably go to Africa, but the infrastructure isn't there, the manufacturer isn't there right now. We have a lot of people, you have, but you don't have the resource. Same thing with India. We're shipping to India. Why manufacturing is not really in India? Because the electric grid is sometimes it's off, sometimes it's working. You can't run a manufacturing facility if you don't have consistent electricity or power to run your assembly line. And then how do I distribute it? Okay, so we have that information. The other one is some domestic wholesalers import goods to sell directly to retailers. You could go, right, this one's directly from the importing company. They just bypass the retailer, which is okay. E-commerce gives me that ability. Okay, retailers pay for import goods before they are shipped. Remember, I have to buy everything ahead of time. And, they could be damaged, it could be something else that's a lot harder to return. So I'm taking the gamble, I'm risking the money. I'm looking at the exchange rate. We'll talk later about, on in a few chapters. So you have custom brokers, and who are they? Importers may hire government licensed individuals to help bring imports through customs following all the laws. Right? Not to pay off. I already know somebody knows the ins and outs of the process instead of me trying to do it. Commissionary is paid commission to act as a retailer's agent in a foreign market. Now be careful, remember, because if there's some kind of payoff or prize, because the company is a little bit, the country is more prone to corruption or whatever, I hire an agent and hopefully he or she is honest to get my goods through because they know what to do. I'm hiring them as a service. I don't want, it's that fine line class. Are they paying off something? Are they doing? I hopefully not. I hope they're doing legally. What are you doing? I'm a small business. I want my product sold, or I need my goods brought here, so I have to follow the rules. And remember, you got the Small Business Association as an import. You have the government to help small businesses how to import and export and give them advice. And you have other to help you along. The government wants to offset. We import a lot, but let's work on the exporting. Okay, downside of imports are procurement costs, inflated actual costs. And the quality may not be there. You just take it for, even though you're checking, but I got all the stuff. What I'm going to do? Not like they're around the corner. You're going to bring it back to them and complain. You have to go to the process. You got to send it back. Okay, landed costs are often uncertain. Longer lead times, depending on what's happening in the country there, the consideration, legal considerations, imports and competing, you could have quotas. Remember, we're open up with Cuba, but if something happens, we're open up with Iran, but if they don't follow the rules, then we close down. So it's not good for business, but there's a whole market. I could go out there looking for a lot of Western goods. On costs with U.S. made goods, amounts that may be brought in, where might these goods be made? They have the steel industry from China because of unfair labor costs the government is subsidizing. So what does China do? We put a tariff. There's two types of tariff: a protective tariff to protect the industry, so they come around a different way to say that's not built in China, it's out of Brazil. Bypass. Yeah, it's still you got it's a cat and mouse deal, and the other one they could just put a revenue on it because for a country we want some money, let's put some revenue on it. We have to. I think in South Korea, I had a student tell me, the goods from China, which real close, very more expensive, and the government may put that on there because they may, South Korea, China, they may have good relationships. Sometimes they don't. They have like a cold type of a relationship, something like we have with the Russian, the government, not the people. So, but what happens is, so they'll put something like a protector, or just because they want to, just a revenue tariff, because we want to. No rhyme or reason. We get the money, you want to buy it, so you still be buying more of the home or the South Korean goods versus the Chinese goods. But you give them the freedom, you give them the rights to buy them. Okay, imports tied up retail's capital, responsible for compliance with the laws that govern the tariffs, the quotas, the product safety standards, and the labeling. You have to go and make sure they're not using. Child labor or whatever, because it's bad for the business. It's not good. It's not ethical. It's not very being a social responsible type of an operation. From a small business, you can't do all that. So try to be open-minded about it. Who does importing? If I look at through all the channels, everyone imports, exports, because it is part of my expense. And how do I reduce it? Manufacturer, wholesalers, retailers. You got buying offices. Yeah, and we'll talk about federated merchandisers. We'll talk about residential buying, and then commissionaries. We talked about a little bit earlier, and the other one. But some of them ties in. So I'm just bringing it in. I explained it. I just bring it in. They also do the importing, anything with the logistics channel, okay, or the marketing channel. Okay, pricing considerations and imports. Why are imports costly? All buying expenses must be included in imports. You can't, that's part of my cost. I buy real inexpensive by the time I ship it, pay through the taxes, through the different handling, the logistics. My goodness, I might as well just made it myself. Exchange rate fluctuates. Exchange rate is let's turn to one currency. Right now, the U.S. dollar is strong, so we can buy imports good. I can buy a lot of goods, but if I'm trying to sell my product, I would rather have the U.S. dollar weak, because then people, don't need as much currency to buy the product. Remember, dollar strong, the currency goes down, so I can buy more stuff because I got a stronger dollar. But if I got a weaker dollar, that means my goods are cost less to somebody else because their currency has a higher value than the U.S. dollar. So when do I buy? It's like cards. When I hold them and when do I fold them? So if I'm looking at this, when do I import and when do I export? Imports are bought earlier and tied up capital before the sales are made. We already talked that. No manufacturer support because they're overseas. It's kind of hard. They may send you another product, but it could be a little bit while. Okay, trade shows. There's a temporary exhibits of manufacturers to show you the goods. It could be exclusive, just that only the retailers come in or the buyers come in to see what the products are going in there. And you exchange your network, you exchange your business cards, you exchange different people within the channel, the distribution channel. So that's how you learn, and now you have other contacts. For a single category merchandise. And what you're looking at is no different. You come in, and a lot of times you'll be in a trade show, you may have your product, you want to show it, and you have vendors coming in. Where do you want to come in? You want to come at the beginning? A lot of people start off, some people, it's like going to the store. It's a 50-50. Some like to be in the middle. Some buy the food. Remember, and everything else is now, if those who've never been to trade shows, used to be used to show your business card. Now you've got like an ID card, like a credit card, and you just zoom, zoom. What do you want? You want the information, you were here, you win something, So trade shows, and we'll talk about when you take me for advertising, different categories of merchandise I'm giving out. Some have my name on them, some my higher end. I just give them a pen, but just a logo, so they would utilize it more. Okay, but you have to give them something. How do I get them in? They're still customers. They come in there, they want to win something. Okay, now resident buying offices. You can have to, in your business, that you're going to be opening up retail merchandising plan, feasibility study you'll be doing for this course. Taking all this information, you have to identify a resident buyer, or RBO. There's a resident buyer office, and there's one in Chicago. Delta gives you a lot of good sites you can look at. Our marketing and research consulting firms that serve the member or client stores found in New York and major market centers. Market information, what's the new trend, what's the new color, what's the new fabric, they're buying this already a year in advance. You already know it's going to be next year, what's the color going out there. Primary role of a buying office, they're advisors. Market specialists study the research and report the new trend terms. That's the added value. That's why I utilize them. And what are the new hot items? Sometimes you're wrong. You still have to, will it sell for your market, your demographic, your customer, your psychographic analysis you have of them, and the lifestyle of the clients that are coming to your store. Remember, you're the retailer. They're coming to you. They're giving you advice. But you're still the one who has to say, yes, this will work for me. Look at them as salespeople in reverse. That's what you're a salesperson, and now they're selling to you. Or account managers. Product developer, finding resources for creating a private label. What's new from the new goods. Here's a new clothing, new material. As a private label competing with the brands, I have to find the material and be able to implement it as part of my product line. You have to increase my not only my depth but my breadth, my assortment, and how many different styles and colors I carry of each. Okay, I throw that in. You see it on a midterm. Okay, importer is locating resources overseas. Buyers, you travel a lot. And younger, you enjoy. After a while, it's just a job. You go from one office to the other. You know where the hotels are. You know where the foods are. But it's still you're traveling. Okay, you get used to it. It's like a job. I enjoy it, but after a while you get tired of it. Okay, types of resident buying offices. You have different salary for a free. Store pay a fee. The donor group, you pay them, and they'll help you get the right type of material or keep you informed for a fee so you can make the decisions. Since the office conglomerate owns maybe merchandising. Okay, and then they got private offices owned by Neiman's Market. Okay. All right, so we took care of the resident buyer. I think I only have a few more things. What are markets? Let's look at market. If I'm looking at market is a place where you have a lot of similar type of operations, similar type of buyings. I'm in a fashion industry. New York is noticed for that. I think they talked about High Point or someplace else that's more for furniture. So the garment industry is New York City, right? New York City, Fashion Avenue. Can't find it. You have it one way there. A market that hosts a high concentration of showroom business. If you want to know what's there, Chicago's picking up on the fashion too. Is a place where retailers and suppliers transact business. High Point Market is in North Carolina, and here it is. This whole area here, leading nation's leading wholesale market for furniture. That's where they're at, High Point. So what's the new kind of furniture? What's the new trend? What's the old traditional leather always there, but people want some modern. You got a modern look. Is it more aluminum? Is it more plastic? Plastic. Okay. Is it stainless steel? What's the new metal that they're coming out? What's the new composite that's coming out? And how do I do this in what market? How I'm going to sell it. So they're already letting me know so I could be ahead of time. That's what the buyers are looking at. And then the buyers got to come back to the sellers and say, hey, what about this? So the sellers are talking with the customers. The buyers are looking. That's why a lot of times when you're looking in a small business, you're a buyer and a seller. You have to know both. You don't want to be in the selling. You don't want to be in the buying. Or you trade the roles around so they could see, get a feel. Or let them go out with the seller. The buyer should come out on the floor and see what, is the display working? Is the brand, and get the feel. You have different ways you have to get that information from your consumers and put them in a database. So when the buyer goes out, he or she knows understands your market. The manufacturer rep as a salesperson says, yes, this is what they're going to buy, but you still have to pay the money. You still have to make that decision. It's your creativity. It's your intuition. I'm marketing and management. What I want to tell, and I try to stress more than anything else, you have that intuitive. Something that's not right, roll with it. Something is right, go with it. Something at the hunt. After a while you'll learn. Oh, geez, man, I ate. That's why I'm intuitive today, but it may not be. So remember, develop it. Those of you who are artistic and fashion and merchandising, you already have that. You're already using your right side more than your left side, but now put the logic in there and use both sides and utilize the creativity with logical reasoning and sense, and then intuition is a flag, and logic says, okay, does this make sense? Yes, and then we go forward. Now you're using both sides, not only by hunches, but utilizing resources and knowing what the market, what are the numbers showing you. We'll have that in a few other chapters. Okay? So you got merchandising, right, and Dallas Center. And I have this on here. That's what it looks like, the Dallas Market Center. Doesn't look that big, okay? Let's go into their website. I haven't did a website at all in here. And say, oh, Dr. George, looks kind of good. High end already, right? Buyers, become a buyer, exhibitors, right? You could come in there, different markets, so it's going to come in there. Let me look at this. I've got August, what's coming up? July, August, let's see. August apparel accessory. The August men's show. Let's see what they have men's show in August. Tailored to your needs, featured events, market travel. What do we have? Featured event. Buyer's breakfast. So they have to come in. We like to do. I eat more when I'm on the road than I do at home sometimes. Good food, and you're looking at little drinks afterwards. That's where you do your socializing, to meet buyers, to do your networking. Different events. What do you have on there? Okay, so you got market centers, careers. If you want a job in here, right? Dallas Market Center job, associate benefit, exhibitor jobs. Those are exhibitor. More than 1,000 working permanent showrooms. Helping set up the exhibit. Come on, there's so much that you could do. Remember, I want to do my own product line. Understand how product lines are mixed in the distribution. That's why overall you see more men are their buyers and everything else than women. Why? They're already in the system. They understand. They help. Ladies, that doesn't mean you can't. You have to get into the system. You have to understand the logistic. And at what point, which point do I eliminate? Which point do I do a better deal with? Because remember, that's all your ultimate cost that your customer is going to see, that you're going to do for the business. Okay, so you have that. Supplier maintains, market week. So if you look at market week for apparel, fall ones, March, April. These are certain things, holiday resorts, spring, October, November, trade association, market centers. This is where you have to go out to see what's going on. You can't just do YouTube and see. You have to go out there. You have to touch the material. You have to talk. You see that energy. You see what other people are coming. My goodness, it's outdated. But when you start seeing different people are carrying the same kind of theme, it gives you an idea. Remember, the general public are like sheep. Not all. The majority, they're looking at the leaders. They're looking at their celebrities. What are they wearing? What's the trend? I have to just work on them, and then all of a sudden they look on, and the rest will follow along. I'm a marketer, but you're learning. But you have to do it, even though you're not controlling it. You're a small business. Okay, what takes place at the markets? Buyers see many merchandise and lines. Meet majority of vendor executives. They're out there. Industry leaders hold seminars. This is what's new. Trying to convince the buyers to start buying them. You have fashion shows so you can see them. What's in plus sizes or more for? I think it's this year is more black for the better words. I don't know if it means it's gloomy. And parties or elegant, what I mean. Vendors meet retailers from many different places. I see other vendors, other retailers. Exchanging cards. They may not be direct competitors, but here's what they say they work. Here's how they sell. That's you get ideas. That's what the network. You get ideas. To be creative, you can't just sit in a room, everything black and white. How creativity? You have to have the stimuli. Other people, different conversation. Come on, you take your creativity and now you live it. And you live it through retail merchandising. You live it, how do I do it? My store, my brand, the merchandise, the pricing, the customer. I'm interactive. I am organic. I am with the people. I understand that. That is basically what, for you to understand the customers of your business and still do a good living, and you see a person happy because they do what they enjoy doing. It's not going to be easy. You know what I mean? Nothing's easy, but once you get it, you'll do very well. It's something you enjoy doing, remember? You're taking what your passion now, and then you're just going to expand it. Okay, now how do retailers add value? We went to this whole thing, and now I get to the store. I'm selling to the store. It's more business to business. Business to business. So it's... I'm the retailer and manufacturers trying to get me to carry the product line. Okay, the value graph, if I look at it this way, bicycles at the manufacturer. Oh, here we go. Let me go in here. How do retailers add value, the value of a product. Bicycles develop at a manufacturer or your producer. You come up with a new product line, develop in several styles for different markets, for the Walmart, for the Target, for the higher end bicycle shops. It's different convenient location and quantities of one. Okay, so people could see it and they could always buy it later on. Bicycles featured on the floor display. Where do I put it? Here's the new bike. Do I put it in the front or I put it in the back? When I'm a sporting place, the bike's not in the front. You got to go in the bike's in the corner. So how do I bring it out? Sometimes I kind of sneak them out in front. Just a new bike that's selling, or have it in the advertising. So we talk how to communicate with your customer, your target market, and bicycle could be brought at credit or put it away. So this is how retailers bring in the value. Provide an assortment, again, right? Buy products at the same time. I'll break it by bulk. I buy it by large, and I could sell it. I buy like 20 bikes. I get economies of scale, and I can sell it still at a fair price to them, right? Break it up if you go to a candy store. You can see I got a sweet tooth. I love candy, okay? Hold inventory. They keep the inventory for them, and then when I need it, they bring it in there. Right? I don't have to buy the thing. I could buy like a certain thing, and I could do it next time. Buy the next a part to it. I buy the dishes now, I buy the cups. So to do an inventory as I do it, and the retailers do that for me. And office services, credit and layaway and everything else. Okay. Okay, so we've done everything else. So remember, this one is kind of logistic. And I would remember when you look at there's more to it. If you take operation management, you're looking at time management. How much it's going to cost me? How much my inventory? How quickly I move the inventory? How do I bring it into the channel? What's my delivery dates? How do I tie my advertising, my sales, my promotion? How do I make space in the store? All that is part of the logistic or procurement part. I just went over from you going, hey, this is easy. What the heck are people talking about? No brainer. More than you think. The goods don't come in. How's it packaged? How's it distributed? How's it comes out? How do I come here? It comes in big boxes. How to break it down to individual store? All that is basically logistics. Working through the channel. And what you found out, you have the job rackers or jobbers that are going in there. You have you could hire people that are working for you for a cost to help you get rid of the rough ends of your logistic tour. Okay, so we talked about manufacturers. If I could buy from a manufacturer directly, I could eliminate the warehouse or the part of the distribution channel. If that makes sense, it's good, because now I could reduce my costs and sell more competitively or have a higher profit return on my investment. Because last couple of chats we were talking a bit about the accounting. Don't worry, you'll be accounting for not watered down, but give you a basic, a high level view of it. And then when you take accounting and you see all the numbers, you go, oh my goodness. But you need that if you're going to go to finance, you need it in business, you have to understand the dollar, the money model, you're going to be out of business, okay? Direct sales force, do I use my own sales? Remember, my whole thing is, if I always want to control the message with my own people. If I'm doing something else, inventory, or dealing with the customer, fine, I could contract that out that comes back in boxes. But anytime I touch the customer, I would rather have, there's more loyalty, there's more respect, and there's more in it for me because I work for the organization. I want to be successful so I could stay with it, so they could pay my bills, and I could or get promoted within the organization. Imports, there's no way around it. You need imports to keep your costs down. Everything else, we don't manufacture that much here. You have to manufacture, most of the manufacturing is outside the U.S. and then the downsides we talked about. Pricing, that's always an issue. MasterCard, Visa makes it easier if I get customers to buy it, but how do I do it? I have to have certain information when I'm sending. But the post office and the U.S. government is importing. I think it's U.S. government.import .gov, or if I'm mistaken, just look it up on YouTube, and they'll give you information on a small business. At the community college, you have the small business associations that are attached. There's one at Harper, there's one at the College of Lake County on the main campus. Harper is at the Higgins Road one. Higgins site, I think. So you could go there. All community colleges have some kind of relationship with a small business association that helps the local community. Remember, local community, you have to you're selling locally, but your goods and everything else, you have to you're acting local. You're living locally, but you're thinking globally. That's where your goods are, or could I sell over there? Okay, and how do I add value, and what's the market? So that's what we covered today, and we did a lot. So again, you're doing real well. Remember, and you can fast forward me, write the notes down. You could take pictures, but write the notes down. The more you get your senses, the better. And remember, this one is part of the logistics channel. You're taking me for retail merchandising. This was Chapter 8, merchandising resources, offered by, I'm Dr. Jordan Mochocki. If you're in Cook County, you can look me up at Harper College. I'm an adjunct contractor for Harper College, or if you're in Lake County, then I teach at the College of Lake County, and a contractor there. So two different. If you're in one county, you're in Harper's districts, in the other county, you're in College of Lake County. And remember, community colleges are strong to give you a good baseline, to give you good understanding. As you go up higher and higher, you say, man, I learned all this here. Let's go into more detail. Read the book, look at this, communicate in the classroom, and talk in the forums, and make that network with other retailers, and learn the distribution channel. Go to the trade shows, have a good time, but don't go there just to eat and everything else. Meet people, hand out business cards. That's how you're going to be successful. That's how you grow your business. That's how you expand, and that's how you understand the logistics of where to buy my goods, or what's going, what's the trend in the next 2 years. All right, so I'll see you in our next section. Have a nice day. Bye.